Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr,
business consultant.
Jay Scherr.
Jay Scherr Business Consulting.
Hey everybody, I'm Jay Scherr with Jay Scherr Business Consulting. We build solid foundations for service-based businesses to grow and scale and achieve the results and success they deserve. And you've joined Business Minds Coffee Chat. Richard Branson said, "My interest in life comes from setting myself huge, apparently unachievable challenges and trying to rise above them." Well, on today's episode, we talk about achieving ridiculous goals, the power of building and leveraging relationships, creating extraordinary experiences, solving problems, and more. Our guest is a husband and father who grew up in East London, dropped out of school at 15, worked as a bricklayer in his family's business, left London for a finance job in Hong Kong that lasted one day, worked the door at a nightclub, which became a jumping point for him to get to know affluent and successful people and get them into other parties, including crazy parties he threw himself. Fast forward, he created the world's most successful luxury concierge service for millionaires and billionaires, and today is a sought-after speaker, best-selling author, coach, creative disruptor, podcaster, and host of the greatest mastermind you know nothing about. Please welcome the man who Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine called the real-life Wizard of Oz, SteveDSims. Steve, thank you so much for being here. It is great to see you.
That's a hell of an intro. Thank you. I'm kind of blushing a little bit.
Well, you look fantastic, and it is my pleasure. And I'm so excited about this conversation. So let's dive right in. If you could share with us what your favorite trait is about yourself.
My favorite trait, curiosity. I think that's it. I've always been the kid that tried to ask himself, why not me? And I've always gone for that. So I would say curiosity.
Excellent. So why are you so curious? And you mentioned as a kid, you were asking yourself questions. You were curious then.
Mm-hmm.
Did this start early in life for you? And what were some of those questions that you were asking early on?
Well, like most entrepreneurs, our story is not very different. All entrepreneurs, we share the same kind of thread. We start off aggravated. Something's not working out for us. So we usually develop a solution, then find other people that have that problem and sell them the solution. That's business 101 from an entrepreneur. But when you start in life, and this is the real difference between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur, you're aggravated. You're not willing to settle. And I remember growing up in a construction firm going, is this my life? Is this it? Every day I'm going to be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, spending the entire day getting wet and damaged on a building site in East London, and then going home, dirty, tired, shower, bit of food, bit of telly, go to sleep, wake up, do it again. And I just thought, no, it can't be. And so that aggravation marred with curiosity made me go, well, hang on a minute. He's in a nice car. He's only working 2 days' work. She's only doing this. Why can't that be me? And so, you get your children, they go, hey, I want a lollipop. And you go, you can't have a lollipop. It's nearly dinner time, but I want a lollipop. And they keep going until in the end, you either give them the lollipop or tell them to shut up. With me, I was the kid you couldn't shut up. So I was constantly, why? Why not? Why are these the rules? Why is this? Now, as a young lad, I'll openly admit this was not brilliant and not very attractive. I'm a big lump of a fella riding around on a motorcycle, aggravated and curious, and constantly questioning, why not me? So it wasn't a good package. I didn't exactly look warm and fuzzy. I don't really look warm and fuzzy today, but back then I had a bit of an edge, and I don't think that was very, it wasn't great to help me get into where I needed to go. And there was a lot of rawness that actually went with that. Sorry, my dog started barking. But as I grew older, I was able to kind of maybe just polish that edge off a little bit, but keep the curiosity. And I would say today, with the people I've had conversations with, I would say the number one thing that every single one of them has in common, Larry Page, Jean-Paul DeJoria, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, any of the people I've been able to speak to, they're all curious and they all ask themselves, well, why does it have to be done that way? And that's where it starts.
Yeah, very interesting. Did your parents did they support that curiosity? Did they was that something that they were encouraging as well?
So this went dark quick. The downside with today is that entrepreneurs make up, I don't know, and I'm guessing at this percentage, but like 10 to 15% of the planet. The other 85% of the planet end up working for them, but that's still more of them. And I can guarantee, and I'm talking to you now, the entrepreneur out there listening to this, when was the last time you were having drinks, you were having lunch, you were having coffee, breakfast, whatever, with a group of your friends, and you made the mistake of starting to talk about your goals and aspirations? Oh, I want to do this. I'm going to get this, and then I'm going to scale it, and I'll probably do an exit strategy, and then I'll move into this, or I'm going to do this book, or I'm going to do this movie. I'm going to, and we do all that. We verbally vomit all of our aspirations, and the rest of the table then looks at you like you've gone mad. And what do we do at that time? We do two things. We either go, yeah, I'm going to do it. We don't do that. We dilute our dreams. We go, oh, I don't know what I was thinking. Someone must have spiked my coffee. Forget me. I'm having a brain fart. I'm going crazy. Anyway, Bill, how are you doing? And you try to dilute yourself to match their standards. Well, here's the dumb thing. You feel as though you don't fit into that table, and it's because you weren't built to. And that's the main thing. We need to support ourselves, and we need to change the room. We need to change that table. If your table are jeering and holding you back, go to an entrepreneur event and find a different table where they think you're not dreaming big enough. Now, I tell you this because, quite simply, I love my family, Irish meathead bricklaying family. They didn't understand me. They didn't understand why I was aggravated. They didn't. It's like being born left-handed and then someone go, well, why are you left-handed? You just are. And I was born with a different DNA, different set of goals and aspirations. And I went out to get them. My mum quite openly blanked it. She never supported it. She never supported me. So sometimes changing the people around you even mean it's your family.
So you mentioned masterminds as an example, or being around others who are thinking differently, who are thinking bigger, who challenge you to reach your potential and think bigger. At an early age, when you felt that you were thinking differently, when you were incredibly curious, when you realized that, is this all there is, you wanted more, who were you going to at this point? Were you already starting to surround yourself with some other people who you saw were further ahead than you, or at least were living a different type of life, maybe a life that you wanted, and you're asking them these types of questions?
Sadly, no. It was rather the opposite. I was running away from rather than running to at that time, because I'm 55 years old, so I grew up in a life where I didn't have Instagram to show me how inadequate my life was. It did also, we didn't have YouTube. We also didn't have podcasts. So in which case we never had these things to show us an alternative. So I was literally just spraying in the wind. I was like, well, what's going on? But what I did know was that my pub back in England, full of broke bikers, wasn't where I needed to be. I just had to find a different room. Of course, a broke biker turning up in an affluent room stands out like a sore thumb, and no one wants to talk to him. So there was a lot of this kind of like change and adapt and edit, find out the questions that you could compel with. There was a lot of movement, but I knew, and we've all got fear in us. My fear was to go back to that room. My fear was to go back to that room full of broke-ass bikers and just go, I tried, and they'd all sit there and they'd go, oh, I don't know what you were thinking. You're an idiot, Steve. Get the beers in. I never wanted to have that conversation. So I bounced off the walls. I got turfed out at so many parties and clubs because I knew these were the people, or I thought These were the people that I wanted to be around. But, you know, authenticity, trust, it doesn't come with a well-tailored suit and an expensive watch. You know, the only difference between, you know, a street thug and a major crime villain is maybe the tailoring. So you've still got to trust your instincts. And that's what really kind of helped me. I literally learned, and it's even more important today, trust your gut, not your eyeballs. And I run with that. And so I started to have a few of those conversations, started to meet the right kind of people, and then very quickly try to find out how I could actually bring value to the relationship. And that's what my focus was.
Yeah, great piece of advice. For those that are listening and watching right now who are in a position where they're fearful to have that conversation, they're fearful to get in that room of those who are thinking differently, who are thinking bigger, who can push and challenge them, what would you say to them? Can you help walk us through maybe a bit of what you were doing to overcome your own fear of going back into that room?
So here's the scoop. Don't be frightened of getting in that room. Be frightened of staying in the room you're in. You see, we're a very fearful bunch. You know, we walk past a bush, it rattles, we can't get it. We get scared. You know, we see someone big and threatening, we get intimidated. So we've got fear in us. It's a natural reaction. It's also preservation. You know, what's going on? There's a spark. Oh, I've got to run away. You know, danger, move. But you get to dictate how you handle that fear. For me, very early on, as I mentioned in my story, it wasn't the fear of looking stupid in a room that I wasn't prepared or adequate to be in. My fear was to stay in the room that I was in. And this actually got coined very well many, many moons later by a friend of mine, Joe Polish, who said, the definition of hell is to meet the man or woman that you could have been. Now, that's fear to me. So I live up here in the hills in Los Angeles. I'm very happy, very, you know, fine, supportive, comfortable, got all the mortgage, but I'm good. But what would be devastating would be to be the exact same person today as I am in 6 months' time. No failure, no scars, no scratches, no trying, no attempt, no difficult conversations. That would be terrible. That would waste 6 months of my life. And life is a living organism. And to be a living organism, you've got to break through soil. You've got to break through your own skin. You've got to put up with the rough weathers. But that's what makes you strong. So for me, fear is never, oh my God, I shouldn't be in that room. Fear to me is like, oh my God, I don't want to go back to this one. That's where it goes.
So powerful. And for all of you that are watching and listening right now, I hope you are taking notes. Make sure that you're listening to what Steve is sharing here. This is incredible, very powerful advice. So Steve, there are moments that define us, and they also can change the course of our lives. What is one of those moments that you've experienced?
One, jeepers. God, how long you got?
Well, let's boil it down to one significant one that just keeps coming back and back to your mind.
Probably, my life's full of pivotal moments. Okay. The beautiful thing about, actually, let me teach you a lesson first. Or not you, but your people out there. Okay. When was, and I'll ask you this question, Jay. When was the last time someone turned up with a car, a handbag, a painting, something like that, and it had a color? Like someone turns up and they've got a new car, and you look at the car and you go, well, that's a weird color. I've never seen that color before. And then the following day, what's the only color you see on the road? It's that color, isn't it? Someone turns up in a yellow car. The following day, the whole streets have only open yellow cars. Well, that's your mind. When your mind starts seeing opportunity and pivotal moments, guess what's the only thing you see on the high street? So for me, my brain very early on kind of was hungry. I'm looking, where is this next? There it is. And I want the next. There it is. I was grabbing onto these moments. Probably one of the first ones that I got that you don't recognize it. You these things happen to you and you go, eh. And then like 3 months later, you go, holy crap, I got something out of that. I was probably, and this one took me years later, I was probably young teenager, 13, 14, maybe 15 years old on summer holiday, working on a building site with my pops. And my dad's walking with me. My dad was a chain smoker, thick-headed Irish lad. You know, he wasn't, he wasn't any Tony Robbins by any means. And he's walking down the street and he just puts his hand on my shoulder. Didn't even look at me. We're walking down there, not even paying attention to each other. And he puts his hand on my shoulder and I look up to him, doesn't even look in my direction. He says, son, no one ever drowned by falling in the water. They drowned by staying there. He took his hands off my shoulder and just carried on. Put a cigarette in his mouth and just walked. And I stopped. And I was like, where the bloody hell did that come from? And I had no idea what he was getting at, what had happened, looking around to see if he'd seen this slogan on a bench of a bus stop or something. Nothing. He just came out of nowhere. I don't even know if he fully realized he'd said it. And I just thought, that's crazy, man. You know, my dad's gone nuts. And then, of course, you fall over as an entrepreneur. And you fall over. And you fall over. And when you're not falling over, you're falling over. You know, this is what entrepreneurs do. We constantly fall over because we find something that works. It's great. It's working perfectly. And then what do? We go, how can we make it better? And we constantly do that. And what's the first step it takes to make something better? We make it worse. We find 10 ways that it doesn't work until the 11th one goes, made that better now. You can fail 1,000,000 times. You've only got to succeed once. And the other's just a journey. So that's that lesson about drowning and me being in charge of whether or not I drown. That caught me. And so many times throughout my life where I've lost money, trusted the wrong person, got ripped off, stolen, sued, all of these things that, hey, if it hasn't happened to you as an entrepreneur, give it time because it will. I don't know an entrepreneur that's not had his ass on the floor. I don't know an entrepreneur that's been either bankrupt or borderline bankrupt. I don't know an entrepreneur that's had his ideas not ripped off by someone else, laughed at, spat on, ridiculed. Elon Musk has had all of this. So I don't think you're anything special. It comes with the territory of being an entrepreneur, and it's how you learn your stripes.
Wow. What brilliant words from your father, and at a very impressionable age. Is your father still living?
No, he passed away.
Okay. Did he have the opportunity to see how far you have come in life?
He did. He saw a part of it, but it didn't make sense to him. I think at one stage he realized, okay, Steve's got his own gig going on. You know, he's on his own rail. But you see, this was also a generation that knew their place. And yeah, how old are you?
I'm 57.
So both of our parents were war babies. You know, both of our parents knew what it was like to have food stamps, to have been like a few years off of a depression, few years off of national draft, you know? So you think of all of those generations they install, like us today. We have children, we install technology into them. You know, don't be frightened of technology. It's here to be. How many of our family, I remember when my mum got a remote control, she wouldn't touch it. You know, she'd just go, I can push my own buttons. I don't need remote control for that. You know, sorry, radio control. She used to call it a radio control. So we came from different generations. But the ethos of our family was know your place. You're not one of them. You're one of us. You do this. Do you remember this crap? You do this job. You work your way up. You get your pension. You work your way up to your top position, and then you can retire with your pension. You've done it. Well done. Congratulations. You know, do you remember that shit?
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Now we're like, are you nuts? So it was different generations, different generational mindsets. And that was a one that didn't fully understand what I was trying to do. And also bearing in mind, we're both in our 50s. Okay. So we can tell the young whippersnappers here in the 80s and the 90s, if you called yourself an entrepreneur, this meant that you couldn't get a real job and you were probably selling stolen audios out of the back of your car. Am I right?
So true.
It's so true. There was a show in England for any Brits out there that I'm talking with called Only Fools and Horses. And it actually had this guy in it called Del Boy that would sell kind of like one-armed jumpers, sweaters, just any kind of crap at the back of his little Reliant Robin. That was the view of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur was someone that couldn't get into the system, didn't fit. Therefore, they were to be laughed at. They were to be ridiculed. Now, you ask a youngster today, what do they want to be? I want to be an entrepreneur. What business do you want to be? I want to be an entrepreneur. They just want to be, because it's now validated. The top. Do you remember when? I'm sorry, Van. When we were kids, we wanted to be rock stars. We wanted to be astronauts. We wanted to be movie stars. Now, the rock star and movie star today is the entrepreneur.
Right.
Back in the 80s and 90s, my God, Tom Cruise, I don't know, Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. These were your idols. Today's idols are Elon Musk, Larry Page, these kind of guys. These are our idols. These are today's rock stars.
Generational changes. You're absolutely right.
So no, they couldn't. But I also recognized very early on that it would be my misjudgment and mistake to try to force them to. So it was a case of, and my wife's father, thankfully, that's still very much alive, same generational. And he would quite often be kind of like, how are they going to get out of this? Oh my God, how are they going to make it through this mess? Oh my God, my little heart, I couldn't take that. Now he's like, that's them. If there's a thunderstorm, that'd be fine. That'd be selling kites. It's just that he's now grown. He doesn't understand it. I've got a second book coming out. He still can't understand that. He sees me speaking all over the world and he's like, oh, well, they must have been bored. There's this little kind of typical kind of British sarcasm there, but they don't fully understand it. And it would be rude for me to expect them to.
Oh, that is so good. There's a solution to every problem, right? Yep. Everything is figure outable. So I want to go back to it for a moment to when you were working the door at a nightclub and what transpired from there. It seems like when I research you and hear more about your backstory, that so many things changed for you at that point. What were some of the key lessons that you learned from working that door about relationships, about awareness, about paying attention to human behavior and asking better questions?
So let's go back to the fact that when you train your brain to look for opportunities, that's all you can see. It's like your typical partner that's looking at cracks in the wall. All she can see is cracks in the wall. When someone looks at a bad garden, all they can see is a bad garden. Entrepreneurs, we think and we react and we act differently. When I got the job as a doorman of the nightclub, I had no money. I had to earn money. And of course, I'm big and ugly, so I fit the perfect mold for scaring people in a bar. But then when I got the job, again, just like entrepreneurs, okay, that's done. What's next? We're never content. We never settle, okay? If you're slightly aggravated that your standards aren't being met, good, because your standards should never be met. You should always have higher standards than everyone else. People should want to live up to your standards, not the other way around. So I'm on the door. I'm with two other meatheads that basically just want to score one of the girls and avoid getting as much blood on their shirt as possible. And that was their ambition. My ambition was like, okay, how can I make sure this has been done for me and not to me? And that's the classic Sean Stevenson. And we had that with COVID. We had that with recessions. We had that with depressions. Anytime anything happens in your life, stand up, stare at it and go, okay, has this been done to me or has it been done for me? And so I'm on the door now and I'm yeah, big ugly guy, job description, thump people. And I'm now questioning, how can I make this job be done for me? And you know, all of a sudden, when your mind starts doing that, you start seeing the opportunities. When you're on the door of a nightclub, you've got people trying to come in, okay? You got people with no money. You got people that just want to have a fight. You want to find people that want to celebrate things. All of a sudden, I was getting a master's degree in human psychology. As people were coming to the door, I was literally in my head going, okay, 4 girls. Is this a girls' night out trying to find some rich guys? Is this a birthday party? Are they celebrating a job? Check out their shoes, check out their outfits, check out their mannerisms, check out how they speak to you. And as they were talking in my head, I'm going, okay, these are 4 girls that are celebrating a good deal they just did at work. And I'll be like, evening, ladies, how are we doing? What are we celebrating tonight then? Oh, so-and-so just landed a major contract. Tick 1. I got it right. So all of a sudden, I was getting growth out of this, and I was getting my MBA in human psychology. I became really, really good at it. And I also noticed that the guys that had a few, and it wasn't always the guys that started the fights. I hate to break it to you, ladies, but you know how evil you can be. The guys would have a few beers in them and wanting to go up and go inside and start a fight. That was their idea of fun. If I could recognize it and control the front door of who I let in, I removed 99% of the problems on the inside. My guys loved me because they got to fight less and less and less. Now, today, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, how many clients do you have that you don't like? How many clients do you have that are arseholes? And here's the funny thing. You've got them for 5 years and they're worth $5 million. Money and time doesn't improve the arsehole. If they're an arsehole, they're an arsehole. If you control who you let into the front door of your company, your club, your society, your circle, you'll remove 99% of the headaches inside.
Brilliant.
And that's what I discovered. And the girls that were there just to maybe start a little bit of a cat fight or pick on the guys that had girlfriends because it made them feel better to be able to ruin a relationship on the inside, I was able to block them as well. And that girl bitchy at me or try to seduce me or something, which is stupid, you know, but I would protect it. So if I could protect my front door by recognizing the kind of people I wanted inside, that was my first lesson that I learned.
Wow. That's amazing. What great life lessons to learn. And thank you for sharing that as well, because you just shared with us some very, very important lessons that we should all be able to apply in our life as well as our business. So let's talk about the power of relationships, leveraging relationships. First, speak to why relationships are so important. Let's take it down to the basic level. I think we all can pretty much guess why, but from your perspective, as you were starting to develop more relationships that became very meaningful in your life, why was it so important? And talk about, if you can, how you are able to create meaningful and impactful relationships.
All right. So let's do the first disruption on that statement. Explain why relationships are important. They are not, okay? They are imperative. They are critical. They are your blood. They were important to me in the 1990s, where there wasn't so much distraction for your attention. Now, they're imperative. Okay, there's so much noise. There's so many different ways of communicating with you. Again, we come from a time period, I'm not trying to glorify it, but I am trying to make you visualize it. We came from a period of time that if you wanted to get in touch with me in the 90s, you phoned me up, you sent me a fax if you were really important, you sent me a letter, or you knocked on my door. 4 ways for you to get in touch with me. Okay, now you tweet, you instant message, you Facebook message, you FaceTime, you email, you write a letter, you write a fax, you Telegram, you Voxer, you WhatsApp. My God, there's so many different ways now for us to communicate badly. And that's the key component there. We're not focused on the relationship anymore. We're focused on barking an order. Do you want to do this? Posted it, right? I'll walk away now, see what I've got. Rather than phone a guy up and go, hey, Jay, I'm going out for beer tonight and I'm in your area. Do you want to come out for beer with me tonight? That is communication. That is connection. And we've lost the ability. I started to do this thing years ago that was so monumentally stupid, but worked so brilliantly. We called it No Email Tuesday. Okay. It wasn't an original title, but it got the point across. What we would do is we would download all of our emails and get rid of the ones that really weren't any kind of question. Ones that were like sending us receipts or booking confirmations. This was when I owned the concierge firm. And then when we got to 10 o'clock, we would physically turn off the Wi-Fi. We would make a big thing of it. 5, 4, 3, click. Router turned off. You have no access to internet outside what you've already downloaded. And then what we would do is we would go through all of those emails and we'd go, hey, Jay, how you doing? This is Steve. Look, I know you sent me an email this morning about you wanting to do X, Y, Z, but I'm in the car. I just thought I'd take the time to phone you up and find out a little bit more behind it. Is that okay? Never, ever, ever had anyone say no. Because bear in mind, I'm there to solve your problem. If a plumber turns up to clear your blocked up toilet, if he turns up, do you go, now's not a good time, come back in a couple of days' time? No, you've got a problem and you need it sorted now. So I would phone the clients, all of my team, and it was really funny because we would split off in different parts of the office or go down to the park or something like that and phone our clients and pretend like we're in the car. Go, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm in the car. Thought I'd give you a call. So you said you wanted to do this. Explain it to me. Why is that such a request at the moment? And someone would go, hey, I want to go to Italy with the kids. Okay, I got your email. You want to go to Italy? I wanted to ask you, why is it so important that we're planning that for this year? Oh, it's the whole school holidays. Yeah, but the school holidays are every year. Why is this year so important? Because you haven't traveled for like 5 years. Why is it this year? Do you know, funny enough, he's 13 years old now, and I don't know how many more years we've got of his attention. Gotcha. You're starting to seal those last few years before, quite simply, he doesn't even want to talk to you in a crowded park. Yeah, fine. Gotcha. So what are you hoping that when you get to Italy, you're going to participate in, but he's going to be able to be saturated by? Is it history? Is it culture? Is it fair? What are you hoping he's going to get out of it? And you start asking these questions. Now, the little request of, hey, I want you to plan a trip for Italy has now morphed into something spectacular, a trigger, a memory. That's what it is. I've done that with my family. I've done it with other people, and they still get those triggers. How many times have you driven down the road with your radio on and a tune comes on and you are immediately transported back to that time when you had funny hair or you were in a bad relationship or a good relationship, or it signified a good situation or a bad memory, but it triggers you, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
The power of a tune just erratically just comes onto and you're suddenly transported to a different time. That's time travel. So we found that by actually communicating with our clients and challenging them with the rudest, most confrontational word in the world, why? We could actually establish proof that we care. We could get to the actual core of the question, the request, the problem, and we could establish, hey, I'm here with you. Now, when you can actually do that, you don't need loyalty points, which is nothing more than legalized bribery. Buy it over here. I'll give you loyalty points. Buy it. You're bribing the person. Shut up. That's what it is. But you've never needed to bribe someone to come and have a beer with you because there's a connection. And now we've gone through COVID, politics, depression, inflation, major riots, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Asian hate, difficult conversations. Now, here's the thing. You said about relationships, and I said that they were critical today. How do you commence with a relationship? You start by having a conversation. Now, I just reeled off 3 of the biggest conversations that we've ever needed to have in our generation. Me Too, Asian hate, and Black Lives Matter. And I'm guaranteeing you there's a bunch of people out there going, oh my God, what's he going to go off and say about this? It's so inappropriate. He'll be cancelled in a second. We're so terrified to have the conversations that we have to have. What do we do instead? We have no conversation at all.
We're superficial.
100%. You know, hey, what do you think of that? Hey, I support it. Support what? What the freaking hell do you know? You know, have a position. Hey, do you know, I don't fully understand it. What happened that this became such an immense moment now? You know, we need to have those conversations. Some of them difficult, some of them ugly to basically, hey, I'm ignorant to the problem here. What is happening? You know? And we have to have those conversations. If you don't have the conversations you don't want to have, it's very hard for you to have the conversations you do want to have. And without the conversation, Amazon's just about to put you out of business because you've never, ever in your life had a conversation with Amazon. You're not having a conversation with Siri and Alexa, but you think you are because it's got a human voice. And so in which case, we're losing the ability to communicate. We're improving our ability to bark orders. And that's the difference.
Well, you know, you just amplified the word that you used earlier, curiosity, the trait that I asked you about at the beginning of the conversation, because everything that you just eloquently talked about was your ability to be curious and actually put that into practice, right? Can keep peeling back the layers, keep asking why, kind of like what you were talking about that our kids do, right? Why this? Why that? Why though? Right? Just keep asking why. And I think it's amazing that we don't do more of that. That's an area that I know I can get better at, but I love the way that you not only listen, but then you're turning the conversation around to keep going deeper, right? Keep peeling back the layers of that onion so you have better information, so you understand more clearly what is it that this person's looking to accomplish. What is the challenge? What's the problem? What are they looking to? What's the result they're looking for? So I can be better positioned to deliver it and massively exceed those expectations.
It's a tough one, but there is only one skill set that you still can't download an app for, and that's the ability to communicate appropriately. And that's the only one that we need. See, my money's not going to keep me in business. My motorcycles, my stunning good looks, none of that's going to keep me in business. It's my ability to care, communicate, and solve. That will get me over absolutely. That's why I'm a cocky son of a bitch, because I've learned how to do it, and I have learned how important it is. Everything else can go by the wayside. But if I still can validate and prove that I care about your problem and will find you an adequate solution, tooth or nail, I'll find it. If I've got those two attributes, I'm in business.
Fantastic. So I want to switch gears. I want to talk about your second book. Your first book was Blue Fishing, which tells a lot about your backstory. For all of you that are watching and listening right now, if you want to learn a lot more about Steve's story, I would encourage you certainly to pick up a copy of Blue Fishing. I want to talk about your latest book, which is about to be released here very soon, and that is called Go for Stupid: The Art of Achieving Ridiculous Goals. First, what a fantastic title. So I would love it if you would share with our audience, number one, why did you feel the need to write this book, and why is now the time that the market needs this book?
Great questions. So I wrote Blue Fishing as part memoir, part tactic of what I did to get to communicate with some of the wealthiest, most powerful people in the planet. And when I wrote the book, I also did it tongue in cheek to poke my kids, because I thought to myself, my kids, they see me as a meathead running around on a motorcycle and they don't fully understand what I do. But the idea that I could add author to my lineup would just make them laugh, because anyone that's ever got an email from me knows that I have trouble spelling and using punctuation. So, but I never thought it would take off, because everything I did was simple and stupid and basic. And I thought, oh, people are going to read this book and go, well, that's bloody obvious. And it is. Then why aren't you doing it? And that was the thing that really smacked me in the head. It became a bestseller and translated into Korean, Thai, Vietnamese, Mandarin Chinese, Polish, and Russian, as well as being in Europe, Australia, and America as a bestseller. And I'm like, how the hell did this take off? Are there that many people ignoring what they need to do? And sadly, the answer was yes. And I was like, holy shit, this world is in a worse position than I thought it was. Because if a bricklayer from London could be doing this, you're already out of excuses. So the book did really, really well for me. I coach, I teach, I train, I run mastermind events called speakeasies. I'm happy. Okay. And I realized when this book came out, I had to feed it. I had to feed those people that went, all right, I gotcha. You've called me out on my shit. Now I've got to do something about it. What else? So I knew I had to do that. So I started doing that, and I started helping out, doing video. It's all free stuff, podcast, YouTube, Facebook. It's all free, but how I do things and how I still do them. And then COVID hit. And again, let's get back to that yellow car. When we train our head to see opportunity, that's all we can see. So COVID came across. I didn't have to fly to another country. I didn't have to drive anywhere. It was like getting 3 more days added to my week. I was getting so much time. And here's the thing. I can make more relationships. I can make more impacts. I can make more money. I can't make more time. And now I've been given it. I had 2 years just with me, my family, my dogs, my wife. And you know, I really love them. Now I knew that, and now I got in that position. How many of us are in relationships that we've been stuck with for 2 years, and that COVID button turned off, and we're like, I do not want to be cooped up with you again. But me and my wife, we got walking for the dogs. We adopted 2 dogs during that period. We absolutely love it. And we love each other. So it became a monumental time for me. So then what you do is you go, well, it must be monumental for everyone else. So then you start looking out there. And what did everyone do on Facebook? Hey, I'm on COVID. What should I binge watch on Netflix? How could I possibly stick my thumb up my backside and waste more time? Please advise. And I was like, are you kidding? There's a gift here. Here's a little fact for you. You probably already know this, but I don't know if your listeners know this. The BBC did a survey, and they did a report at the end of this survey. There were over 5 million new millionaires registered during the 2-year period of COVID. That means there were more new millionaires than at any other time frame in our life, in the worst 2 years of our life. Figure that out, you know? And so I started to get this, and I'm like, hang on a minute. How can some people be seeing the opportunity and some people be so stupid? And I started on I've got an Instagram. I'm SteveDSims, by the way, everywhere. And I've got a SteveDSims Instagram. And I started putting up little memes and little notes, and you know, I don't have much of a filter, and I was putting it up there of how people were annoying the shit out of me. And it was obviously a little bit too raw, because people were like, Steve, you know, you're really getting pissed off about it. I'm like, how can people be wasting this time? It's not like, well, okay, we'll reset at the end of 2 years and you'll get them back at the end of your life. We've lost it. It's gone. Why are you wasting it? And then I started writing and someone said, you should put this in a book. And then I realized something else happened. Again, our ability to communication was depleting. And don't you love this one? Oh, COVID's made it harder for me to do, insert the bullshit excuse. You know, oh my God, I can't go to the gym. Your fat ass wasn't going to the gym before COVID. Now you're just using COVID to, I can't get to hang out with my mates. You weren't doing it effectively beforehand. So it became the great excuse culture, and then it turned ugly. It became the gotcha society and the cancel culture. What star can we find that's very successful at the moment that did something in 1982 that we can get a snippet of, put it on social, because everyone's on social at the moment, and we can cancel that career? Why don't we talk about this person did that to that person, and we'll cancel the career? Have you ever noticed that the front page carries the allegation, and page 62 at the bottom, the clearing of that? The amount of celebrities that have done stuff or been accused of stuff that has been acquitted, but the acquitting is on page 62, just underneath, the latest sofa advert. But the charge and the implication, that's on page 1. Because if it bleeds, it leads. If it lives, it's lost. It's ridiculous how this planet is. And I got very angry about it. And I started communicating with some of the people I know. And I started going back to people, the Elon Musks, the Elton Johns, are going, how do you see this gotcha society? What do we need to change it? And you imagine the amount of effort it takes to pull someone down from that pedestal, to jeer at them. Let's go back to the coffee shop. You've got 5 people around you, and they're jeering or looking in shock that you're trying to do something to better yourself. Just imagine if those 5 people turned around and went, how can we help you, Jay? I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but hey, I'll drive you where you need to go, Jay. Just let me be a part of your growth. Wouldn't that be fantastic? I'll throw something else at you. Do you have a truck?
I don't. I
Do
can
you
get
like
one.
trucks?
Sure.
You do like trucks?
When I
So
need one, I love trucks.
You love trucks. Did you see the Cybertruck unveiled by Elon Musk?
Yes, with the bulletproof glass.
Okay. I had a podcast the other day with this girl in Korea, and I said to her, do you like trucks? And she said, not really. And I said, well, do you have a car? She said, I live in Korea. I've got a push bike. And I said, would you like a car? And she went, not really. And I went, oh, did you see the unveiling of the Cybertruck? She said, absolutely. We all did. So it doesn't matter if you like trucks, hate trucks, got 3 legs, blue, green, brown eyes, whatever. Everyone saw this unveiling of the Cybertruck. The only similarity between that Cybertruck and anything else on the road today was the fact that it was on regular tires. The motor was electric, the composite, the bodywork, the shape, everything was different about that truck. It basically reinvented the wheel. Okay. Apart from the fact that it was on rubber wheels. And you brought it up, the bulletproof glass. Now, I'm not being picky, but if bulletproof glass is one of the specifications you need in a new vehicle, you've got bigger problems. Okay.
True.
Now, he did a 2-hour unveiling of that Cybertruck and sold out every possible pre-order that they had an open slot for. Now, the following day, did we revere him that he had reinvented the automobile? Did we revere him that as an entrepreneur, he had grabbed the attention of people in Korea that don't even care about trucks, but he had their attention? Did we revere that attention? Did we revere the fact that he had sold out? You imagine, you're going to do a course. My book's coming out. Can you imagine if I sold every single copy I was ever going to produce before I wrote one line? He did that with his truck. But tell me, Jay, what were the headlines on the following day?
About the bulletproof glass that shattered.
We reveled in the fact that we could find one thing that went wrong, and we blasted that everywhere. We didn't revere him for the positivity. We didn't congratulate him on all his, ingenuity. Something went wrong that we could point and laugh at. We gotcha. Yeah, bulletproof glass. Now, he did a video shortly after that where he threw different stuff at this glass. One of them looked like a missile launcher, and the glass didn't break. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Probably about 10 other people in the planet did. No one else give a shit because it didn't break. Now, if it had broke, breaks again. We're in that kind of society, and I've had enough of it personally. I don't know how many more years I've got left on this life, but I put in here all of the ridiculous goals through life, ranging from Henry Ford, the birth of coffee, the light bulb, Elon Musk with his argument with NASA, all of these different historical things that were jeered at as stupid, but now are common. The car, drinking coffee. Do you know there was a petition to ban the development of the light bulb because they felt that light bulbs weren't as safe as candles? Now,
we had candles throughout our houses then, right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to work out, has any major fire, whether it be Boston, Venice, London, any of those ever been started by a light bulb? No, they were all candles. So they're actually trying to ban something because of how dangerous it is. They tried banning coffee because of its hallucinogenic content. You know, we've seen these people try to stop. Now, the downside is today we got social. So we can post something up. How many times do you see someone go, oh, RIP someone? And they post it up on social and they're like, I didn't know he's dead. No, he's not dead. But, 4 million people have just remarked on it. You can get something out there super fast that's wrong. And it's scary. So the book aggravated me. I looked at how I had done things, the goals I had, and I remember, and it wasn't supposed to be anything. But whenever a client would come to us and they go, hey, I'd like to meet this rock band. All right, I hear you, but that's a bit dull. What's the stupidest thing we can do with that request? How ridiculous can we go for this? How just insane can we make this trip? And I do that now with the entrepreneurs. What do you want to do? Well, I want to make 200 grand a year. Great. Go and find yourself another coach. Work with me and let's go for 500 and fail and get you 400. It's that kind of, don't go for what you can achieve. What the freaking hell do you know you can achieve? You haven't tried. Go for what is stupid. Elon Musk said, I want to go up into space. Larry Page, I want to go up into space. And what did you do about it? Well, I started with a vision and then I worked backwards. And that's what you need to do. The whole book has tactics, techniques, mindset, but it's to get you out of that negative cancel gotcha society and get you really questioning who is your support and who you could be the support for. And that's what it is. I want to, stupid goal number one, change the way we communicate with each other and focus on support rather than pulling people down.
Fantastic. Cannot wait for this book to come out. And I will just say to our audience, we're obviously going to link to the book. Do you have a pre-order link?
I don't. It comes out at SteveDSims.com, D for dashing, 1M in Sims, SteveDSims.com on October the 18th. There'll be the link on there that you can grab it, or you can just go on Amazon and Google Go for Stupid, and it'll be sitting there on 18th of October for you to grab your paperback, your hardback, any chance you like. And then the audio one will be out probably later on. I haven't got around to doing that yet.
Outstanding. So the point that I want to make to everybody right now, and this goes for this book as well as everything else that Steve's been talking about during this episode, Steve's first book, his content that he produces, you can receive all of the greatest tools possible that can help you transform, that can help you change your life, that can help you improve in any area. You can receive those tools, but until you actually do something with it, until you execute, until you take action, nothing changes. So please remember to take the information that you've heard, take the notes that you've been taking during this episode, do something with them. Take one step, take one nugget of information and apply it in your life. Action overcomes all. Would you concur with that, Steve?
100%. And you said it a lot better than I could have.
Excellent. So before I ask my final question to you, I have all of your social media handles, your website address. would you please give our audience a challenge?
Wow. Yeah, and it's very, very easy. Although it's going to appear very tough. I want you to ignore the first part of the conversation when you speak to your friend. And I want you to ask him this question. What's going on in your life and how may I be of help to it? And the response you're going to get is, oh, everything's fine. Thank you very much. I'm good. Cheers. Ignore it and then go, all right, okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, what's going on in your life and how can I support or be a part of it? And actually ask that for a second time. And what's the way that face changes? Start being somebody's support so that they can pay it forward and be someone else's support. Be the first domino, be the catalyst that actually commences a great deal of change in your group.
So beautiful. Thank you for that challenge. And I can't wait to hear from all of you that are watching and listening right now what the response is to Steve's challenge. So Steve, here is my final question to you. What is one of the most difficult decisions that you've had to make in the pursuit of who you've become?
It was a difficult one, a beautiful one, and a profitable one. You've really got to clean up the table that you're sitting at. And some of that table may be dear friends. Some of that table may be family. But if they're not there to support and challenge you, then you're at the wrong table. You need to move them off that table and you need to replace them with someone that will. It's very tough, especially with a family member, to go, do you know, I like your jokes sometimes, but your sarcasm's a bit too much. Your negativity's a bit too much. And I'm fine to see you at Christmas when all the family get together, but let's not have these conversations. And if we bump into each other in the street, let's know our place. And that's a very tough conversation to have. Very tough. And yes, I'm sounding arrogant and obnoxious, but I'm here to support me and my family. And I can't be doing it by first getting over your negativity.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Steve, I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much for spending time with us today on Business Minds Coffee Chat, sharing your insights, sharing your knowledge, sharing your backstory. So much wisdom there and so much guidance and advice and help for all of us. So I'm appreciative to you. I'm excited about the new book coming up, and thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And for all of you, thank you so much for watching and listening. And would you please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review? We would love to hear what you thought about this particular episode. And to enjoy more episodes, all you need to do is go to jscherbusinessconsulting.com/podcast. And until next time, keep learning and growing. Pick up a copy when it comes out of Go for Stupid, and we'll see you on the next Business Minds Coffee Chat. Take care, everybody.
Scherr.
Scherr.
Business Consultant.
Scherr Business Consulting.